Okay, President Veras, when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Let me call the meeting to order. If it's possible to get our agenda up on the screen, so we can all follow along, that would be great.
Yes, 1 second.
Okay, thank you. So let's kick it off with the, we'll call the meeting to order. It's a special LACCD Board of Trustees meeting with one resolution on the agenda here. So with that, let's have a roll call, please.
Trustee Wilma? Absent. Trustee Fong? Absent. Trustee Henderson?
Here.
Trustee Moreno?
Here.
Trustee Vela?
Here.
Trustee Veras?
Here.
Student Trustee Martinez?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. If we can do the flag salute. Trustee Hoffman, would you lead us in this flag salute, please?
Sure, thank you. Put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee. Okay, colleagues, is there any objections to the agenda? Obviously, I think we've all been communicated to for the need of this special meeting. It is an expiring executive order, which our general counsel will be able to get into a little bit more detail. Since I do have a couple of requests from our employee units, I will, if there's no objection, add a space for the resource table right after public comment. If there is any other request to change, if you can please speak to the item now. If not, we'll deem it approved with the addition of the resource table comments right after public comment. Okay, see no objection, so we'll deem that approved and move forward to public comment. I do have, 1 second, I do have a couple of letters, or I'm sorry, a couple of individuals who requested to speak to the board. Actually, let me do this since it's going to take me a minute to open it. Lupe or Crystal, could you call on those individuals to speak to the board? They have, this is for items on the agenda, so this will be AB 361, and we'll facilitate 2 minutes per speaker on the item.
Okay. Rochelle McKeevy, if you can raise your hand. David Esperanza and Hila Obanhim. So Rochelle McKeevy, David Esperanza, and Hila Obanhim.
Both Rochelle and Hila are in the room.
Perfect. Okay, you have 2 minutes. Rochelle, would you like to start? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Rochelle McKeevy. I am an adjunct faculty at Trade Tech College. This fall semester, I was approved to work remotely due to a medical exemption. However, myself and some other colleagues of mine who are also were given medical exemptions were told this week that that approval is now will expire as of October 31st, and that myself will be responsible for coming on campus November 1st. So as a counselor, I work in very close proximity with students in very small spaces. And so I'm highly concerned about this, especially considering my underlying health issues, which one significant one being that I am prone to infections because I have a weakened immune system. And so I'm just very concerned, and I feel as though if the board has recognized the need to want to continue to meet online, because again, there are real risk and health concerns with COVID going on, then why would myself be asked to go on campus when I can provide those same services on campus as I currently do online? And so I'm just highly, I'm very concerned for the safety of the students, for myself, and also for the people that I have at home who are also high risk. And so I'm just asking that I be given that same opportunity to continue to work remotely, considering, my medical conditions, and, this is a transitional semester, and trying to still implementing systems and best practices and safety for our campus. And so I'm just asking to be afforded that same opportunity to continue to work online as well, considering my current medical condition right now.
Thank you, Rochelle. I will note for the record, this is public comment, so we'll allow everyone to speak. It's not the best place to sort of communicate back and forth. But I do hope that you stay on board for the conversation at AB 361, and we could have an opportunity either to have our the staff here follow up directly with you, or we can agendize issues that you raised in your comments at a different meeting. So thank you for the comments.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hila? 2 minutes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hila Habim. I'm an adjunct counselor at Trade Tech. So I'm speaking today about the resolution AB 361. I have been working remotely as well for most of fall. And, I'm grateful that the board did pass the vaccine mandate, and that you guys did put the plexiglass and had that approved. However, as Rochelle said, us counselors work in very small spaces, indoor, like very intimately close to the students. So I am also worried about this environment, and going back in person right now with the numbers still being pretty high up with COVID. We were promised to have custodian sanitizer areas, for example, and this has not been happening. So it feels like what was promised to us hasn't been completely done yet in terms of our safety being completely there. In addition for that, I have as you can hear her in the background, I have a baby at home, and she's of course unvaccinated for COVID. And that's another concern of mine. Just whatever I come home with, God forbid, contracting it towards her. So that's another concern. And I had a medical, I'm sorry for the noise, by the way. I had a medical exemption. And I just got the email yesterday saying we have to all of a sudden, come back in a month. So that's been kind of a shock to me, as my doctor had given a note saying that until, he gives further notice for my own medical situation going on, that, he would give the clearance for me to go back. And for them to say I have to come back without the doctor's clearance is a little weird to me. So I would appreciate any empathy that can be given towards our concerns, and having anxiety for our own health and for people that we have at home. Again, I'm so sorry for all the noise. I hope you guys were able to hear me.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Loud and
Okay,
clear. So thank you for your comments. Okay, next speaker.
David is Barsa. He's here. Go ahead, sir. Unmute yourself, sir.
Oh, good afternoon, board members, Chancellor Rodriguez. I am a counselor at Los Angeles Trade Tech College. I work in the Transfer Center. And when my approval for adjustment to my work schedule, which allowed me to work remotely, was approved, it was really a great burden of anxiety, which was lifted for me and my wife. She's a stage 4 cancer patient, a lung cancer patient, and I am diabetic. So not having to worry about any COVID variants and the possibility of needing to maybe self-quarantine because of the uncertainty and safety on campus was just a huge obstacle that we just had hanging over us. So we felt that our administration was considering our medical circumstances seriously, and they would be taking measures to make sure that the campus would be safe for students, faculty, and staff as we move closer to some sense of normalcy in the next term. But being informed that our approved schedule adjustment for the fall term had an expiration date, it just feels like the rug is pulled out from under you, especially when you learn that the schedule adjustment for medical reasons terminates October 31st, an arbitrary date. So it seems like Trade Tech seems to be the only campus that has done this for an approval for a full term. So it's very disconcerting in that currently faculty are unhappy about safety, whether it's through the Academic Senate or through our union. In my own area, request for plexiglass and just to make the space
Sorry, sir.
safe.
Your time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sparsa. That's all I saw on the list. Was there any other individuals that requested to speak to the board here?
No, sir.
Okay. So with that, let me jump over and I know I have 2 requests from the resource table. So let me, if I can ask if there are members of the resource table that would like to speak to the board, if you could raise your hand and we'll move them into the panelist section. And I see the first is Joanne Waddell. And if there's any other member of the resource table, we can add them on.
Thank you, Board President Veras, trustees, chancellor. Joanne Waddell from AFT 1521. I'm splitting my time tonight with Bill Ellerton Selig, if he's in the audience. And I would just like to comment quickly that the Faculty Guild supports your approval of extending open meetings via teleconference, also known as AB 361. And we would urge the trustees to extend this privilege to faculty who have the same health and safety concerns that Brown Act employees have. And when faculty follow the exemption waiver rules, we expect that they won't be met by management pulling the rug, that rug that continues to unravel out from underneath us. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And then Mr. Ellerton, are we gonna split that?
I had probably 15 things on a list, but I'm going to hold them to 2 right now. There's kind of 2 burning issues, one of which is the area of IT and HR, especially the health benefits unit, and its lack of staffing. It has created a nightmarish open enrollment, which has errors all over the map. 2 of which I've been trying to correct since Monday, and there doesn't seem to be anybody to fix them. And that has to do with when an adjunct clicks on to the open portal, they are not seeing all of the available health plans on their open portal. So there's plans they cannot select. When I brought it up, I was informed that it was zip code, but it's not, because the plans they are not seeing are the PERS Platinum and Gold, which are statewide. There are no zip code restrictions. They're not seeing them. They're not being able to pick on them. There's another kind of inherent issue for those not making any changes. Anyway, it's just there's no one to do the work, and it's created a very large problem. That is also dealt with. I have probably now close to 100 or more faculty that retired. They've lost their medical, has lapsed. They've lost, more often they've lost their dental vision due to paperwork not being processed. And I don't want to, I'm not down talking the folks that are in there that are working, but she's really good, but there's only one of them and she can't do 10,000 for 10,000 employees. So that being said, it's just, I know that they're trying, I will give them that, but something is seriously wrong, and the personnel commissions seems to be causing a slow replacement process. But we have many, many issues that have popped up and have ultimately come up to this. And I guess beyond that, it's I can't remember the other thing I was going to think about, so I'm going to let it go with just that one. That one's created most of the headaches for me. If Joanne can remember what it was I was going to say, she can say it.
Okay. Any other member of the resource table? Nope. Okay, sounds good. So we'll close that, and then we will move forward to our agenda item today. Chancellor, I know this is going to be something that our general counsel will go through, but
Yes.
can you frame the conversation here? Why, and either between you or the general counsel can talk about why AB 361 requires us to have this dialogue and conversation, and we'll have an opportunity after presentation for the trustees to express themselves in terms of, and I invite all of you colleagues to, if you like, you don't have to, but you can sort of, there was a few issues raised by the research table as well as some public speakers. You may want to touch on the mindset of our dialogue and conversation and some of the sort of technical features of AB 361 that are covered here. And certainly I say that with the sense that I feel that we've done at the administrative level in regards to health and safety, the things that we need to have had done with a virus like COVID that has presented mutations and complications. The intent has always been to provide safe and healthy workplaces for our employees as well as the students that would come to us. So as a general sort of marker there, it's been our utmost concern across the board, but 361 in particular and the public meetings portion of this is critical because it's taken some changes. This is new legislation and does have some trigger points that are important for us to talk about. So Chancellor, can you set it up here and then we'll move into the presentation before we get trustees.
Yes, thank you, Board President Veras, members of the board, colleagues. So thank you so much. Just say a few things to help frame the discussion today, and I'll pass it to our general counsel who will discuss some of the technical features of why this action is indeed necessary. Your yes vote today would enable us to continue to conduct our business remotely for the month of October. As council will point out, if the board would like to continue the remote environment, that is what we can, as a Brown Act body, we will need to do this on a monthly basis. So for the October 6th meeting, October 20th meetings, should the board decide to vote and approve this, we would be allowed, and it'll be permissible within the confines of the flexibility afforded through the Brown Act to do so indeed remotely. The last thing I would mention, they would not only involve and support this board to meet remotely, also provides the opportunity for the other Brown Act bodies that the district has, our district academic senate, our foundations and whatnot, to also taking similar action, proceed remotely as well. So Mr. Prieto, why don't I stop there? You've got some very important clarifications on why this action is necessary and why we're recommending to our board to review, to discuss, and potentially approve this. Mr. Prieto?
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Chancellor. And I think you really did provide the overall framework. Just to fill in a couple of the details, as we all know that the governor initially declared a state of emergency through his executive powers. And that initial executive order included Brown Act flexibility for Brown Act committees. Subsequently, the governor has basically revised the original executive order, and certain provisions have either been changed or frankly have run their time. And in the case of the Brown Act flexibility, that is set to expire today. There is no indication that the governor will extend that flexibility to Brown Act committees. However, the governor's overall executive order stating the state of emergency remains in place, and there is no anticipation that will be rescinded or pulled back at any time. That's an important point because AB 361 now that has been passed, there's also been an executive order that expires today providing some explanation, does provide Brown Act committees with similar flexibilities, but it is a different statute and the flexibilities have to be based on certain findings. One prerequisite is that there be a governor ordered state of emergency. So a local entity cannot declare the state of emergency. And in this particular case, the anticipation is that tomorrow we will still be in a state of emergency. AB 361 also requires Brown Act committees to make a series of findings. As the chancellor noted, these findings have to be made every 30 days. So as indicated by the chair and by this particular item, this will cover the meetings in October. But if this were to continue, the board would have to make those findings again in anticipation of the November meetings. And again, the findings are included in this particular resolution. That also requires that as a result of the emergency meeting, in person would present particular risk to the health and safety of the attendees. I'll say one last thing. As the chancellor indicated, the board is taking this action to cover the board meetings. It would be our recommendation, if in fact the board were to move in this direction, that this could be a model for the other district Brown Act committees. The last thing I'll say, and the board president did ask us to be a bit prepared, a number of entities, local entities are following this, but I'll be candid. We did do a survey. Some entities have not made their decisions yet, obviously, because we're not in yet October, and entities are doing this differently. We believe that this particular process, if the board were to approve it, does cite appropriately AB 361 and allow the board in full transparency, if they do decide to approve this, to meet in October, meeting all of the findings required by the statute. And board president, I'll stop there. And again, I thank the chancellor for framing the presentation.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to have some input here. And so colleagues, what we're going to be asked in front of us is essentially take a motion to adopt this resolution as presented, is what's requested. But before we get to the action here, would like to offer the opportunity for everyone to speak to the matter and ask questions as you feel are necessary here. So with that, let me see if I can kick it off with Trustee Hoffman.
Thank you, President Veras. So first of all, I want to say to the public speakers, thank you so much for coming to the board meeting this evening, and your voices have been heard. And I also want to say, don't ever apologize when you have a baby in the background, or screaming kids, or happy kids, or fighting kids. It's okay. Been there, done that. And actually, those are kind of noises we like to hear as board members. It reminds us that everybody's human. So don't ever have to think you have to apologize. So two things. I do want to say that I want to address the medical exemption issue, because I was not aware that the medical exemptions would expire. So Chancellor, can we please look into that? Some folks came forward with some pretty serious concerns, and I want to make sure that we're, leading with compassion. That's been my number one priority since I've been elected. And I think we really do need to honor medical exemptions and make sure that people feel safe. I also it didn't go unnoticed that the three speakers this evening were counselors. And as somebody who supervises counselors in another district, I ran some numbers, and I was actually really impressed with the fact that we served almost as many students in fall of 2020 through counseling, and that's all areas of counseling: academic, career, transfer, special programs, as we did in person in fall of 2019. So I do know that students are being very well served in a remote environment, and that we may need to sort of look at counseling different moving forward. Obviously, there should be some counselors available for students who need in-person help, but I think we do a really great job. I think counselors do a terrific job of serving students remotely, and students have a lot more flexibility. They don't have to look for parking, or they don't have to wait. I know there are some waits, but I just wanted to put that out there. I'm happy to support this resolution. I'm fine to continue, and I feel like if this is the route that we're going to take, we need to honor employees, faculty, staff, and administrators who might not feel comfortable coming back to campus. If we feel like our health is at risk by meeting in person, then we need to honor the fact that they may feel that their health is at risk as well. That being said, I'm an elected official. I signed up for this job. I was elected by, a lot of people, a lot of voters. And if indeed I needed to come back in person, I would step up to the plate and come back. I feel like that's what a leader needs to do. So I also want to say to all of our administrators out there, it might be that you do have to be back on campus. I'm an administrator and I am back on campus 3 days a week, but I have really taken into consideration the needs, not just the wants, but the needs and concerns of all of my employees. So I just want to put that out there. And I want to thank you, President Veras, and Chancellor, for giving us this opportunity to have a conversation tonight about a safe return back. But I'm prepared to support this resolution. I'm also prepared, if need be, to come back in person for board meetings, as long as everybody's vaccinated and we do it in a safe manner.
Okay,
Thank you.
Next, Trustee Henderson.
Thank you, President Veras. I want to echo Trustee Hoffman's sentiments and her concerns. So my concern based off of the public comment was we have employees that are not on medical exemption, that don't have a medical exemption, but they have been working remotely. All of our students are not returning 100% back to campus. So why is it that the colleges are having all of their employees report back to their campuses? I know you probably can't answer that, Trustee Veras or Chancellor, because you're not the college presidents, but I mean, I would like to know why we are requiring all of our employees to return back to campus when we don't have a full student load returning back to campus, especially in some departments where their work can be done, continue to be done remotely.
Trustee, let me jump in real quick, because I know Trustee Hoffman alluded to it. I think between the three of us, we're all sort of asking the Chancellor to come back to us with feedback there. We can't have a full dialogue because it's not agendized per se, but we'll take it as I made a comment to that, Hoffman did, and you just did right now, and I'm sure other trustees downstream, but I did want to note for legal purposes, since 361 is the only thing sort of listed,
Thank you.
we'll take the comment and ask the Chancellor to come back to us on that. Thank you. Sorry. Now on 361, questions or comments?
Yes, I did. One question regarding 361. Being as though we do have some Brown Act committees, and it was mentioned by the Chancellor and General Counsel that they would vote, would they be included in this automatically, or would it be based off of our passing this resolution and then they would go back in their committees to create and pass a resolution of their own?
Yes, more the latter. And then, but Councilor, please correct me. Yeah, more the latter. This would be for the board's meetings, but we would recommend, and we will share, should this resolution pass, our college presidents will share with the Brown Act committees on their respective campuses the model language they can use to put on their agendas, have the same coverage and flexibility.
Thank you.
And that would, and thank you, Trustee Henderson, for that question. And I also wanted to note that the ASOs as well would fall under our Brown Act. And so again, the Chancellor is absolutely correct. This, if in fact, this should be a model, because we do believe that this is compliant with AB 361, and then each Brown Act committee would take that up when they do meet.
I would add to that, though, and this is a dialogue we had as we placed this on the agenda. It's important for consistency's sake that across our district that we have common language, common resolutions that guide us in this process, and certainly, all of those committees do have staff support to ensure that they're in compliance with the Brown Act. But this is from General Counsel and intended to reach across the board for the sake of consistency. So. Trustee, did you have another question or any more on that? Thank you. Okay, next, let me reach out to Trustee Moreno is on my list here. Trustee? Trustee Moreno, are you there? Okay, let me come back to him. Student Trustee Martinez.
Yes, hello. I just want to say that I think that it's important that, as I am, a student trustee, and of course, I'm about supporting the student. And I've said it many times that we have to support the student the way that the student wants to be supported. And in turn, supporting the student the way that the student wants to be supported is also supporting our professors and those that provide us our services on campus and help us with our academia, also supporting them and ensuring that we're supporting them so that they can do their job to the best of their ability and continue to support students adequately and proficiently and comfortably and safely. I just wanted to make that comment that, of course, we are all in support of, safety and taking care of our staff and things like that. But we do have to take into account that, like we said, those that gave public comment were counselors, and they see so many students that are around campus and that are in various areas of campus, and that can be potentially, high risk. And someone that commented, had a child, and whether there is a medical exemption or not, if they are able to adequately do their job, adequately serve students, adequately teach, and fulfill their duties while at home, because they might have an anxiety or whatever it may be, or concerns on campus. I think that we should allow them to do that, because I do not think that it takes anything away from students. And echoing comments from my colleagues that said, we are not expecting our students to come back at 100%. We understand our students are not back at 100%. We understand our students are not even back at 50%. So I think expecting our faculty and our staff to be back at 100% when we understand that they have a lot of conditions and a lot of worries is not the right thing to do, and can also affect the way that students are receiving, their quality to counseling or their quality to, a classroom education, if their professors have certain worries or are getting sick and then aren't there. So then how is the class able to continue if the professor isn't there, and certain things like that. Just as student trustee, I want to echo that students, want our professors there for us, want our counselors there for us as much as our counselors and our professors want to be there for us. And they want to be there for us so much in this time. And they're telling us the exact way that they would feel comfortable being there for us. And I feel that is the best way that we are going to get counseling and get an education during this time from our faculty, is if they are comfortable. And that is also, the students also feel that when our faculty and our staff or our professors or counselors, whoever it may be, aren't comfortable, aren't at ease, aren't confident, we do feel that. And we want them to feel confident and feel at ease so that we can feel confident and that we can feel at ease. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Trustee Bella?
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of have a lot of mixed feelings about this. I really don't know whether the state's emergency order is going to be perpetual. I think at one point, looking at the history and kind of what we've all gone through, right? I think that the governor, I really doubt that, the state of emergency is going to go on for like 5-10 years. With that being said, I think I want to govern from where it helps our students the most. And so I just want to make sure that everyone understands this is solely for Brown Act meetings, unless General Counsel would, correct me. But from what I know, this is only for Brown Act meetings. Is that correct?
Trustee, like Vice President Bella, you're absolutely correct. This only applies, in fact, it only applies to the board when they're meeting as the board in their Brown Act capacity. And as we've indicated on the resolution, these are for the scheduled meetings of October 6th and October 20th. So you're correct, Vice President Bella. This is only for the board meetings and for Brown Act purposes.
Okay, yeah, I just, I want to be upfront with our community, our public, because obviously there's a temptation and an obvious criticism that could come to the board by us meeting remotely and then having certain employees have to come in person. I mean, I think that's obvious. I just want to make that clarification to the public. I completely agree that, we should lead by example. And, if it comes to us having to come and meet in person because the state of emergency is over or AB 361 no longer is applicable, then, we have to do what we have to do. And, again, I'm going to refrain from commenting on anything else except that this is, again, about us meeting. And, obviously there are some separate policy implications that President Vettis mentioned that I do want for the Chancellor to follow up with as well. And I hope that we have further dialogue on those issues that are going to become front and center as we approve tonight's direction. So that's it. I think we can move on from there. Thank you so much. And I want to say to, student trustee Martinez, thank you for your comments, and definitely understand that people have sacrificed, and we want to make sure that those sacrifices are honored by quality education. So we will do our best to make it work. And as we move forward, whether those hybrid models will continue to work, it's really going to be up to all of us, including your constituency, to make that decision with you. Thank you.
Trustee Fong.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the presentation. Echoing my colleagues' comments, I think at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're safe, that we're here for providing the most engagement opportunities as well. So for this particular resolution and in this virtual environment that we've been in for this last year and a half, I know it's been a very, very challenging time. And with this with this resolution to hold board meetings on October 6th and October 20th by teleconference, definitely want to make sure that we continue to promote health and safety of any attendees and all attendees. So this is something that Trustee Vela has referenced and colleagues have referenced, is something that we want to make sure that we continue to track. I always want to see how we can continue to engage, and whether it's in a hybrid environment or anything going forward, that's something that I think as an organization, as a district, we need to make sure that we're ready for that if that comes to be as well. So those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Fong. Let's circle back around to Trustee Moreno. Trustee Moreno, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I have no comments or questions.
Okay, thank you, Trustee. And I believe that Trustee Bona is still missing. So let me go to my comments, and then we'll seek to move the resolution here. I guess let me say this, that the California Public Meetings rules and Brown Act, all these things are really for the public to have access to and to promote transparency of actions taking on their behalf on essentially a taxpayer dime. These rules are to ensure the appropriate access of the public to our work and to our work on their behalf. One of the challenges, and certainly when we went to this environment for health and safety reasons, I will say this, as several of us on this Zoom call have returned to work on a regular basis, I believe most everybody here is vaccinated. If you're not, you should be vaccinated. We've taken the kinds of protocols necessary to ensure that people are safe, and that is at the utmost sort of level of our minds. But I do want to go back and speak to the purposes of the California Public Meetings Act and the Brown Act, and that transparency focus and that access of the public. One of the things that I believe COVID has done is it has restricted the in-person access to information, the in-person access to dialogue, the in-person access to witness and participate in and provide commentary on the business decisions that we have in front of us, the policy decisions that we make. Moving to Zoom, and it's amazing to see how Zoom has gone from a product to a verb in the English dictionary here. Actually, it's Spanish language dictionary as well, because I've heard that in calls that I've been on in multilingual. It's become a really important and critical aspect of the way we communicate and the way that we provide access to the public to view the public's business taking place. I do appreciate the transcription services. I do appreciate the public record that's there. I would probably actually argue that Zoom as a meeting format has provided a better access to the historical record of the actions and the activities that we've undertaken. We used to have a little bit, it would take days to sometimes get our transcripts and to figure out what happened. And certainly, now we have the instantaneous availability of documentation. So for as much as I think Trustee Vela is right, we're probably going to be in a quote unquote state of emergency for a long time. The aspects of doing the public's business in an accessible way and an open way are things that we need to work diligently on. And so this 30-day resolution is not necessarily the end all be all, but I think it sort of triggers the fact that we need to look and explore with the kind of resources to, once we're past, all these precautionary stages, to know that we've got to actually have our meetings be done in a more modernized 21st century way, whether that's public access video, video on demand, all those kinds of things that I think some of us have started touching on, because our meetings were pretty dark. They were you had to be in person, and that was the only way you were going to see the meetings take place. But I think movements towards board docs, access to Zoom, have all sort of pushed us forward. And I don't want to lose any of that going back to in person. And so while I think some of our dialogue has been about health and safety, I think a good part of the dialogue also has to be about the technology benefits that we've been experiencing by moving to this new format. So as I'm very comfortable moving forward with the resolution that's here, but at the same time, I want to task the staff with looking at what kind of format in the future would be the best kind of approach to make sure the public has access to this board in our conduct of the public's business. And whether that's venues, spaces, live video efforts, translation services, all these kinds of things that we've talked about over the past several months, I think they're all important parts of the dialogue that's going to take place. I think the general conversations we've had about trying to support students, I just want to take this category and look at this as something we do for the voters, the taxpayers, all the people who pay their property sales and income taxes to support the public's business. And they want to make sure that we're doing a good job and we're doing it on their behalf. And a lot of the ways that we ensure that is by having transparency, sunshine, and the ability for the public to look at our work. And so I think in this move, we were attempting to preserve the gain and the benefits. Like I said at the outset, I do want to acknowledge, I think we've done health and safety is always at the outset of our interest here. But this has an additional layer for me to understand that I want to make sure that the public is able to access in the best possible ways. So as I say that, I see here Trustee Buelna has joined us. So I know he had some comments in our agenda setting here. So I'd like to give him an opportunity to say a few words, and then we'll ask for a motion in second on the resolution before us. So Trustee Buelna, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, Trustee Vela? I mean, Meredith?
Loud and clear.
Okay. I also want to acknowledge that I was on the call. I just followed the different link. So I was following the entire discussion just for presence purposes. You know, I think a lot of the trustees made a lot of the comments in terms of the access. The comments with regard to the public are not lost on this at all, and we're not ignoring that. And we've touched a lot of the points. So I want to acknowledge that, and also the importance of an access that Zoom is giving us, but also the importance of our physical presence as representatives of the public, and I do support this as well, and support a lot of my colleagues' comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, colleagues, can I ask for a motion and a second on the resolution agendized?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Buona. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Fong. If we can have a roll call vote, please.
Student trustee Martinez advisory vote,
Yes.
trustee Buona,
Yes.
trustee Fong,
Yes.
trustee Henderson,
Yes.
trustee Hoffman,
Yes.
trustee Moreno,
Yes.
trustee Vela,
Yes.
trustee Vettis.
Yes, item passes unanimously. Thank you, colleagues. And we'll move on to public comments for not agendas or items not on the agenda. I didn't have any signed up. Is there any in the audience that would like to make public comments for items not on the agenda? Okay, I see no requests. So with that, that brings us to adjournment, colleagues. Is there any objection to adjourning? Nope. So we will stand adjourned based on no objections from this body. And thank you, colleagues. And we will be back together next Wednesday for our regularly scheduled meeting. So thank you all.
Everyone,
Thank you.
good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.